Hi, in this video we're going to be looking at some sample questions and answers for part 1 of the IELTS speaking test. And in this video we're going to be focusing on the topic of parks. Quite a simple topic, I guess, but also it's one that might surprise you a little bit if you're in the test and you get this topic. Something you might not be expecting. And that's the whole idea of these kinds of questions in part 1, that they make you kind of think on your feet and not just memorize answers to them. But we're going to be looking at some sample answers that show a really high level answer. And I'll be analyzing them afterwards so you can see why they're good answers to give in this part of the test. Just before we get started, don't forget, if you find the video useful, to like and subscribe, and also if you think the video will be useful for people you know, don't forget to share the video with them too. So let's get straight into it and look at the 4 questions that we'll be thinking about in this video. So the first question: do you like parks? Pretty short and simple question there, but again, really common for the IELTS speaking test in part 1. A question that asks, do you like, followed by whatever the topic is. Here the topic is parks. So there we go. Let's move on to the next question and think about that before we look at the answers. Next question is, how often do you visit parks? Again, a pretty short and simple question, but here you can see the phrase how often. Very common style of question again in part 1. How often do you, followed by whatever the topic is. Here it's visit parks. So that's the second question. Let's move on and look at the third question. Why are parks an important part of many towns and cities? So, different kind of question there, a bit longer, not too complex though, still quite simple, but it's a why question here. Why are they important? It's not asking you whether they are important or why they're not important, but why are they important? And you've got to explain that. Let's move on to the fourth and final question, which is, what do you think could be done to make parks better? So this is a slightly more complex question that can confuse some students here. What do you think could be done to improve something? Kind of a common style of question in part 1, but here we've got the idea of parks being made better. Here you've got to think about, well, who is this asking you about? Who can actually make parks better? And in general, this kind of question is kind of asking you what the local authority can do or the government can do to make parks better, because these are public places which are kind of run by the government or the local authority. So let's go back to the first question and look at a sample answer which shows you a really high level answer. And then afterwards I can just explain why it's a really good answer to this type of question. So let's get on with it. Do you like parks? Yes, I like parks because they're great places to relax or go for a walk. I think every city needs some green space where people can escape from the crowds. That's it, that's the answer there. And you can see there, again, we've got just 2 sentences. You'll notice that most of my example answers for these part 1 questions have 2 sentences. It's kind of a good model to follow. It's not too short and not too long. We give a nice direct answer at the beginning. It's a do you question, so we answer with the word yes. Of course, you could answer with the word no as well. That would be fine. Then we copy words and grammar from the question. I like parks. Well, we're using the word like and parks from the question, and we're copying the grammar as well. It's just present simple. And then we give a reason in that first sentence, because they're great places to relax or go for a walk. Notice here we're connecting the ideas here with the word because. the connector, but also we've got the pronoun they, which is referring to the noun parks. Another way that we're connecting ideas there to make it clear. We also have a second sentence in this answer, which just explains why you like parks a little bit more. I think every city needs some green space. A bit of nice vocabulary there instead of repeating the word parks. And then where people can escape from the crowd. Just explaining it a bit more. Right, let's move on to the second question and look at the answer for that. Second question, how often do you visit parks? There's a park very close to where I live, so I probably go there once or twice a week if the weather's nice. There we go. Pretty short, that answer there. You'll notice that it is just one sentence, but it's quite a long sentence. And I feel like we don't really need any more than that. Of course, you could add a bit more detail if you wanted, but I think that one sentence answers the question fully. It explains, first of all, that there's a park close to where I live. So we haven't just straight away copied the idea from the question. We've explained it before we've given that direct answer. It's just another kind of structure to use for our answers here. But then we have remembered we've got to mention exactly how often it is. So I probably go there once or twice a week. So we've used this nice phrase that's connected with how often. We've shown we understand the question. We've also connected the reason to the direct answer by using the word so. And then also we've kind of put a condition on this. If, using the word if the weather's nice. We've also kind of shown off a bit of pronunciation here by combining weather and is together and pronouncing it weathers with a S sound on the end of that. So that's it. That's the second question and answer. Pretty clear and good answer there. Let's move on to the third question and look at the answer for that. Why are parks an important part of many towns and cities? Parks are like an oasis where people get away from the hustle and bustle of city life. They are where people go to have lunch, to take some exercise, or to forget about work for a while. So that's it. A nice full answer there, but still just 2 sentences. Nothing more than that. And it's just focusing on the question and not doing any more than what the question asks. So it starts by focusing the question on the topic. Parks begins. That's the first word of the answer. Parks are like an oasis. Oasis here means a kind of a very relaxing place. It's a nice bit of vocab to show off to the examiner. And then it says where people can get away from the hustle and bustle of city life. This phrase, hustle and bustle, might be new to you, but basically it means the busy nature of cities, the fact that there's a lot of people rushing to do things. And we use this phrase as a noun, the hustle and bustle of something. It connects with the topic perfectly, and it's good idiomatic language. This is high-level language when we're thinking about how to achieve band 7 to 9 for our lexical resource score here. Hustle and bustle. Good one to remember there. But also we've got a second sentence here. And also we're making sure we're connecting the ideas in the second sentence with the first sentence. Not with a classic connector here, but with the pronoun they, which means here parks. It's referring to parks in the previous sentence. They are where people go to have lunch. So we're just going to list a few reasons why people go to the parks and why they're important. So firstly, go to have lunch. Secondly, to take some exercise. Here it's quite nice collocation. We're showing that we understand we can fit the noun exercise with the verb take. It's quite good high-level collocation there. And finally, we're listing the final thing, or to forget about work for a while. So there we go. It's just explaining the direct answer in the first sentence a little bit. Right, let's move on to the fourth and final question and answer and think about why it's good. Here we go. What do you think could be done to make parks better? The parks in big cities are already really good in my opinion. If I think about the famous parks in London, Paris or New York, I can't imagine what I would do to improve them. So that's it. A nice clear answer there. Again, a 2-sentence answer. You'll notice here that we've just said that we don't think they can be improved. I've said at the end of the question, or at the end of the answer, I can't imagine what I would do to improve them. I've said I think they're already really good in the first sentence, and given some examples in the second sentence of some parks in big cities. And then I said, well, I don't really think that they can be improved. I can't imagine what I would do to improve them. So there we go. This also means that we're thinking about if you were in the position where you could improve them. So if you were running the government in a certain city. So that's it. Those are the 4 questions and answers there. I hope they were useful to you. Really, they're just showing you how we can give nice, clear, high-level answers in part 1 of the IELTS speaking test. Hope the video was really useful to you. And again, if you did find it useful, don't forget to click the like button. And also, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And if you think this will be useful for other people you know, then don't forget to share the video with them. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching and see you again in the next video.